Let's talk about Python virtual environment. You might ask, what's a Python virtual environment? Why do I need that? You might be a Python programmer, successfully have been using Python on many different projects, but may have come across a time where you create two applications. One may require one version of the Python library, for example, NumPy of a different version than the other, and if you upgrade one, the other one will break because one application may rely upon certain set of functionality or the features from one library or the other. So let's just take a look. Conceptually, what you might have is on your computer, you might have a Python 3.8 and you might have multiple different versions of Python, right? You may have Python 3.8, Python 2.7, and each one of them may have set of libraries that get installed in a directory called site packages, and this has a base set of libraries, and this may have its own base set of libraries. You may have two different applications, application 1 which relies upon this, and application 2 is using the base installation of Python 3.8. Now, if this application 2 requires a NumPy version, let's say 1.2.2.2, this requires a NumPy version of 1.2.0. Now, if you upgrade one to the other, either one would be happy or other one would not be so happy. So to address this problem, what you would do is you would create what's known as a virtual environment. You would create a virtual environment. Let's say you call this as Python 1 or project 1, for example, and you would create another one called project 2. I'm going to call it as project 1. And then you would install the packages that your application needs in this. And so similarly on this project 2 for application 2, you in fact actually you can create a different Python in virtual environment for project 3. That depends on a completely different installation of project Python 2.7. Maybe in this particular case you may have Python application 3 that may use specific things, the libraries from this set of virtual environment. One good thing about this is you can, after you are done installing and making your application work, you can run a command called Python freeze to freeze all this set of libraries that you might have used for this application 1, right? And you can send that file. In this particular case you might say Python freeze r.txt, that you can store it. You can at a different time come back and then recreate this library or set of libraries that you have installed, or you can send it to your colleague where they can use this requirements text to create another environment on their local machine to run your applications, so everything works smoothly. So let's see that in action. How do we make this happen? First of all, what you need to do is you would want to install virtual environment, pip install virtual env. If that's not installed, in my case I would have already installed it. One thing I like to do, I would like to create all the virtual environments in a specific folder. In my case, I would have a folder which I call it as env in my home directory. That's where I would put all my virtual environments. So here, if I were to say pip list is a command that lists all this set of libraries that's installed on a Python installation. And now if I say which Python, it should show me that I'm using user local bin Python library, and similarly if I have which pip, it should show me the um, pip installation that I'm using, which is coming from the same one of the paths from my base installations. So now let's go ahead and create different virtual environments, which I will call it as virtual env. That creates, if you look at that, that creates project 1 virtual environment, and I would create another one. And if you take a look at that, that creates project 2. And let me create another virtual environment, as I talked about, from another installation of Python that's available in user bin 2.7 version. And I'm going to call this as Py 2.7 version. That gets created. If you look at that, I have 3 folders. Each one are a sandbox or a virtual environment in its own right. Now, if I want to activate any one of this and use it, I need to execute a command called source project1 bin and activate. That will activate my project 1. Similarly, if I want to activate project 2, I can do the same thing. Now let's just use project 1 and see what packages I have installed on this. Pip list. It lists me very minimal set of packages. Now if I want to install NumPy, just like the way how we took the example, I want to use NumPy version 1.20, and I would install that. And now if I were to run the pip list, it will show me that I have installed 1.2.0.0. Now I can run my applications and be happy about that. Now if I want to capture all the packages that I have used, I would say pip freeze. You would use local just to keep your local installations rather than taking all the base packages. And then you would say, let's just run it without running it. Sorry, pip freeze. Right, it shows me that I have installed NumPy. Now I can use the to store it in requirements.txt. Now I have that requirement.txt, which I can use it to come back and recreate the environment later on in the future, or I can send it off to my friend so he can use that to run my applications. And or if I go to a different machine, I can recreate this using requirements.txt. After I'm done with it, if I want to deactivate this environment and activate the other one, I would just call deactivate. Similarly, I would as you can see, I can activate the project 2, and project 2 that's shown to be active through the prompt here. And I would switch over to project 2, and I would say pip list. It does not show the NumPy 1.2.0. Now I would say pip install. I will just say that I would install, give me the latest version of NumPy. Okay, and pip install NumPy, and that installs that. And if I say pip list, it should show me the latest version of NumPy. Similarly to the way how we did pip freeze local, I can do that locally here, and I would install that here as well. So if I want to deactivate this environment, I would deactivate it, and then I'm back to normal to the base, using the base for base installation of Python. So that's all there is to it, and hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, reach back to me, and hopefully I can get you answer any questions that you might have. Have a good day.